Today's message from Dr. Christian Sorensen was recorded March 31st, 2019, and it's titled, Realization of Wholeness Dissolves All Disease, and subtitled, I Am Perfect, Whole, and Wonderful. And today we welcome back the passion, spirit, and talent of Kenny Dye, who can be found on our website, or you can find her on Facebook as well. And you can visit us on our website at seasidecenter.org. And you can always join us in Encinitas, California on a Sunday sometime, where we always have great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving, vibrant community that await you.
Seaside, you know her, you love her. We're welcoming back Kenny Dye this morning. You saw her last at the New Thought-a-thon, which was a blast. Did everybody come to that? Yes, okay, or did you watch it? Kenny is working on an album called I Am of meditation and Shavasana music for yoga. And if you'd like to support in raising the collective consciousness by helping get that music out in the world, you can see her after service and find out how you can help out with that. All right, Kenny Dye.
Road, searching for a song. I could hear it humming, I could feel it in my bones. I packed up an old suitcase full of fear and hate, and then I drove across the old wood bridge and dropped it to its fate. Headed toward the eastern sky, watching the sunrise. No more trees or mountains, just a city made of light. See, I was born in a land of promise, where the people could just be free. Yet I was bound and chained by my beliefs, till the devil came to rescue me. Walking through the city streets, following a song. It was loud and restless, it was playing all day long. I followed it through people, just dying to survive. And then I felt it blow upon me with a promise of new life. I headed for the western sky, watching the sunset. I left behind the memories and a life of no regret. See, I was born in a land of promise, where the people could just be free. Yet I was bound and chained by my beliefs, till the devil came to rescue me. Don't take me to a heaven where the songs I sing are wrong, 'cause I'd rather go to hell where I can sing them all night long, all night long. See, I was born in a land of promise, where the people
Kenny Dye. Woo! All right, Kenny. Woo! Wow, love that sound. That's good. All right, so, hey, this morning's message is a realization of wholeness. It dissolves all disease. If we can just heal that sense of separation, that's the only cause that's going to create the challenges in our world. I'm going to give you the upfront fact of it all. It is about, just healing that sense of separation. And so that's really the key that I want to share with you this week, the 7 keys to success. And Marv, you want to put them up there? The first week we took a look as God, to see as God sees is the first key. The second key is forgiveness. Seeing as God sees. Key number 1, keys to healing. Key number 2, forgiveness. Last week we spoke about surrender, and this week I'm speaking about wholeness. And so what we are offering everybody is these complementary sacred circles. If you want to take the message to a deeper level and see how it's applicable into your life, we got these hour and 15-minute gatherings. There's 3 of them that are left open. Tuesday mornings here at Seaside. There's Wednesday with Ginny at Seaside, and then there's Friday with Reverend Marcia. So take advantage of that. It's not too late. It's always open and welcome. But what we do is we take this message to a deeper place and realize that, you know what? How can I begin to embrace a greater possibility? If I'm doing Lent in reverse, what is it that I can do that begins to shift my awareness and my perspective? Because I think we've all experienced disappointment in our life at some time or another. We've experienced some kind of pain, something that went amiss, that didn't work out right, or maybe a mistake that we made and some trespass that we created that it didn't feel good. And all of a sudden you're left with this heaviness that doesn't feel like wholeness. It feels like a heaviness. And I like what Joel Osteen does is he refers to it like you get caught in this slave mentality. Like, oh no, you keep thinking about this mistake, this past, this disappointment, this challenge, and you remain enslaved to what was back then, whether it is addictions, slave to the addictions, or slave to mediocrity, or slave to doctor's prognosis, or a slave to the body, or slave to, and all of a sudden you begin to think this is the very truth of my being, that I cannot pray boldly anymore, that I can't stretch beyond where I had been because I'm weighing heavy with this. I don't feel like I'm part of the totality. Rather, I'm feeling separated from that infinite flow of spirit. But Spirit says, or the scripture anyway says, beloved, now you're a child of God. Now you are a child of God. Not you're going to be when you get this worked out. Now you are the child of God. And that's 2 different mentalities there. If you got an issue going on, it's an entirely different approach if you think you are a slave or whether you think you're a kid of someone who's going to be able to bring a greater expression in your life. Yeah? Okay. Just making sure you're tracking here. So here you go. Speaking of slaves, and we're in, again, close to the Passover season. So the wonderful story of the Exorcist. You've got the Israelites that have been in prison for 400 years or enslaved for 400 years by the pharaohs. 10 generations. This is all the total slave mentality because the parents have been enslaved. It's been passed along. Finally, enough was enough. Spirit sent the plagues, or the plagues happened. And Moses showed up and said, hey, free my people. And the Pharaoh said, whew, that's enough. Go ahead, guys. 2 million just released, and off they go. And they're taken off across the desert, and all of a sudden the Pharaoh goes, what'd I do? I just let all my workforce go. I don't think so. He called out, says, 600 of his best and fastest chariot, got his biggest, strongest warriors, and said, go bring back those guys. And off they went after the Israelites, who are feeling like free at last. But all of a sudden, you see the dust in the background starting to come, and it's just the classic metaphor of you think you're free from your past, and all of a sudden you look behind. Here it comes, roaring down in the chariots. The cloud is coming to get you. It's like the Pharaoh's chariots are the classic example of your past wanting to revisit and gobble you up. You're not part of the wholeness. You got the slave mentality that says, maybe I should go back with those guys. At least we were fed. We didn't have to run. Will we ever get away? And then, they get to the Red Sea, and then that becomes pretty significant. Am I in the slave mentality where I am separate, or am I one with this divine inheritance, with the expression of infinite possibilities? It comes down to that being the point of decision. And we know the story. The sea opened up, and they crossed the sea. Now imagine if you're trying to escape from your past or those that are pursuing you. Even if you get across the sea, you're going to be thinking, how long is it going to be before they get around here, before they're going to get me? You know, I beat cancer. How long is it going to be before it raises its head? And I want you to know a testimonial at the first service guy shared with me. 32 years he's celebrating this week of free from fourth stage cancer. You know, so I want us to get that the head can play these games. I'm free for now, but how long before my subjective rate? And what I love about this story is, boom, the chariots went in, the water closed, and boom, the enemy's gone. There's no longer lingering concern about my past coming to get me because it is gone. It has been eliminated. It has been wiped out. When you step into this state of wholeness, that whole past causative factor is gone. Are you able to open up to a new possibility that allows you to experience a greater experience of your totality, of your oneness with the omnipresent, with that omniscient, that all-knowing that is everywhere, that is moving through you, healing that sense of separation? Max Planck, the quantum theorist, he said that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That's right. Am I looking for waves or am I looking for particles? You know, Ernest kind of said, change your thinking, change your life. He writes about, don't try to change reality, change your response to it. Don't try to change, the things outside of you. Don't try to, but rather work on that mental approach, on that spiritual approach. Allow yourself to merge back into the wholeness of your being and allow that vision to see as God sees, key from week number 1, to see through you. And any of the mistakes you may have made, forgiveness for yourself, forgiveness for others, you got to let that go. I got to surrender to that and begin to immerse myself into the wholeness of my being for healing to happen. H.B. Jeffries, he wrote a book called Principles of Healing. Our practitioner class is using right now. He was born in the 1870s. So around the turn of that century, he brought forth a wonderful concept that has become a cliche that says everything is consciousness. You ever hear that one? Yeah, it's all consciousness. It's all a reflection of consciousness. But extrapolates it out a little bit by saying everything is consciousness, therefore all disturbance is in consciousness. You got that? All disturbances in consciousness. We're dealing with the energetic. We're dealing with the frequency. We're dealing with the vibration. What are you resonating with? What is it you're embodying? Are you allowing yourself to be part of the wholeness and trusting that higher perspective to see as God sees? I'm going to allow myself to move into this place so I know that even in spite of reality, as Ernest was talking about, what I'm going to do about this, that there's something else that wants to be known here. A couple of weeks ago, you may have read this article or heard the story. It was in New York, shortly after the shooting in New Zealand. There was a mosque. It was the Mid-City is the Islamic Society of Mid-Manhattan Mosque. And on Friday, their place burned. And it wasn't a malicious kind of burning. The restaurant downstairs, I guess, caught on fire, and it didn't burn down, but the place burned where it wasn't usable for the Friday night prayers, which is the highest, day for Islams to do their prayers. And the people started gathering. And the imams went, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? When the New York Mid-City synagogue said, we'll open our doors, and you guys can walk down the block and come into our pavilion and pray. And it was a beautiful blending of those two religions on that Friday evening. Mom said, the Imam said that it was the holiest moment that he had ever experienced in his time in New York. And the rabbi, she said that, our Shabbat is tomorrow, and we understand, our place had been burned 20 years ago, and we're just opening it up. Those are the things that can happen when you choose to make elegant choices. You've got to shift your perspective, your reality, your thinking. And when you make a choice, the qualities and the nature of that choice are what unfold in your world. Follow? So if you're making an elegant choice, then the beauty of that unfolds in your world. If you're making a fearful choice, then that is what unfolds in your world and in your life. We all familiar with a wonderful hero in our lifetime, Nelson Mandela. Bless his heart, moved on. But as we know, in 1964, he was incarcerated for helping to neutralize the apartheid in South Africa. I sat in his cell in Robben Island and looked at the quarry that he used to pound rock. You could just feel that vibration. And so, his book, The Long Walk to Freedom, was just very, very powerful. And one of the things that he shared, he was incarcerated for more than 26 years before he was remanded, released, and he said that I learned to walk in my mind. I found great freedom in my mind. I found a great prison in my mind. And so he writes about how he moved from impossibility to possibility. He said at first, he when he was sitting there, he was just thinking, this isn't it. It's not happening. His vision, the freedom of the people. What filled his mind, the choice, the response, the emotions, is it's not happening. And over a period of time, what began to unfold for him, and this is if you're working on a dis-ease in your body, a disconnect in your world, a disharmony, something that is out of balance. Here's just a very simple practice that, I'm great for these instant aha revelations. Boom, the heavens open up and all the good pours forth. But for him, it took 26 years. And so what unfolded is that it went from this isn't happening to it can happen. He said there, it can happen. The healing can happen. The abundance can flow. The answer can emerge to the point where it then moved to, it will happen. You got that? It will happen. You see that shift in energy? Just one word. It will happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, but it will happen. To the point where he finally got, it is happening. And when he got to it is happening, what he came to realize, part of what this is that he was in was part of it happening. See, that is the wholeness of it all. It's not going to be happening outside of you. It is happening within. This infinity, this eternity, this wholeness, this truth is inside of you, and it is moving from you. And there is something deep that is within you that wants to be discovered. You got that? It's deep within you, and it wants you to discover the totality, the allness, the freedom of your being. It's right there. But you got to know it. Ernest Holmes, Marv, you got this slide here? Ernest writes that when a problem confronts you, right? We're working on the wholeness here, so I'm going right at. When a problem confronts you, you take it into the silence of your consciousness. And instead of thinking of the problem, oh no, man, I'm screwed here. No. Instead of thinking of the problem, you open yourself up and you think of the answer. Because God doesn't have problems. Therefore, the divine mind is the answer to every human problem. Right? God doesn't have problems, does it? This life, this infinite, this omniscient, this omnipotent, it doesn't have challenges, scarcity, sickness. It's not caught up in doctor's reports and financial reports. It's all. It is perfect. It is whole. It is the truth. And so I hear people say, man, I got to believe this. I got to believe this. No, belief is not the way to get this creation going in your life. Well, I'm going to hope. Ernest Holmes tells us that hope is a subtle illusion. Hope's better than fear, don't get me wrong. But hope's a subtle illusion. It's like, maybe, maybe not. Belief, a little bit better than hope. But it's still operating in your mind. You got to give up belief for knowing. As Brian stood here and said, what I know that there is one Spirit. And I am one with that. All that it is, I am. As I step into the wholeness and the totality of who I am, healing happens. I don't need to say, hey, God, fix this knee, or God, fix my back, or God, eradicate this growth in my body, or get my blood right, or whatever it is. When I step into the wholeness, there's movement happens. And it may look like the healing happens through the hands of a doctor. Or it may look like it will happen through the hands of a financial advisor. It may look like it happens through the hands of a lover. I don't know, but what I know is it's all spirit. And when you are totally immersed and there is no otherness and all the forgiveness it just dissolves, you are like spirit in the beginning who knew, spoke the word, and there was light. There was no, I wonder if this is going to, you think God really wondered? That's what we are. We are spirit expressing, and when there is no otherness, we come from that place and absolutely surrender to that. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that we lie in the lap of an immense intelligence. Let life guide you. We lie in the lap of immense intelligence, and we are the receiver through which the truth is expressed and the organ of its activity. We are the receiver through which truth is expressed and the organ, the action through which spirit is moving into this world. That's the way it works. Are you available, or are you stuck up with the past? Here come the Pharaoh and the chariots. I'm just not up. Or am I going to look and pray boldly? Am I going to decide, you know what? I can do this. I got entrusted with this something. I wouldn't have been given this idea or this passion if it wasn't something that I was supposed to do with it. And when I allow that to move through me, healing happens. When you're in the flow, you may be working a lot harder, but it feels good. Time just, boom, goes. There's a purging. I know if I can just get my body up here on stage, if I'm sick before, I know healing happens because this is my passion. And so if we can just say yes, one of the great inventions in human history, I think it's that big, was in the 5th century when a guy by the name of Gutenberg invented the printing press. Up until that time, you had to write it by hand or it wasn't getting out. And you know how long it takes to write a page or two, or whole Bible? But all of a sudden, created this printing press, and the dissemination of ideas radically changed throughout Western Europe in that moment in time, to such that it was the anchor or foundation of the Renaissance. It was an empowerment to the Reformation. It is given, to individuals that can raise questions, whether it's the authority or the religious leaders or the political leaders. All of a sudden things began to shift because there was a way to express knowledge in which it hadn't been done before. But when he first came up with the idea, hey, what are you talking about, Gutenberg? You've got to know. Well, when everything lines up just right and I get the funding, then I'm going to do this project. No, now is the appointed time. When my boss finally leaves, then I'll get around to it. Or, when my wild child calms down, then I'm going to take care of it. Or when I get healed, we keep putting it off because there's something in our life that is like, we find a slave mentality to it. We're no longer that open conduit for the wholeness of spirit to express. I've got my human mind saying, this is why it can't work. I've got to complete this, finish this, get this out of the way. And this continues to unfold over time. You've got to just stop long enough and love yourself through it. That's good. If you just remember that one line, whatever's going on, love yourself through it. Love yourself through it. Breathe in that wonderful life force, that spirit, and know that shift is taking place. If I wasn't a religious scientist, I'd probably be a Taoist. I like the way, no leaders, nature and all of that. But Lao Tzu, it said, actually it was our key from last week. He said, surrender to life. Let life lead you. That's what I was slipping in earlier. He said, surrender to life. Let life lead you. Don't try to lead life. Don't try to manipulate or command life. Allow it to possess you. Allow that spirit. You're part of the wholeness. You're not separate. You don't have this differentiation. You've got the wholeness and then me. I'm part of the ease, the grace, the wisdom, the abundance, the love, the joy, the wholeness. This which can move mountains, guide galaxies. It's the same intelligence that you are. What's stirring in your soul? Give it space. Let it, tease it out. Let it come. Love yourself through whatever moment you are. And when you see the Pharaoh, the past starting to catch up to you, don't stare at it and turn into that pillar of salt and freeze. You've got to look forward and embrace the vision of that which is stirring in your soul, and wholeness and healing happens because when the Spirit moves through you, there is nothing unlike it that can remain. It's like Teflon. Off it goes. It's not a battle and it's not a fight. It's just a non-issue because you are that clear conduit of the divine emanation that is moving in the world. But you may have to, let it, like mandala. It may take a little bit, like yoga, asanas, those postures. I've been working on it now 20 years and it's still not working. But what I've learned is if I just, stretch a little bit, supposedly, I won't say I can perfect that particular asana, but, all of a sudden the muscles stretch. I become more flexible. I can, get into a particular position. What begins to happen is there's a detox that's moving from my muscles and my body and my skin. The muscles are becoming stronger, but it's over a long period of time that it is working for me. But, in our life, as we allow ourselves to be willing to be patient enough for it to unfold and realize right where I am is where it's happening now. And this is where I am at, and I'm looking forward. I'm looking within. I'm listening to Spirit. I'm seeing as Spirit is seeing. And what's coming to get me, I just forgive. Whatever part I played, please forgive me. I'm sorry. I love you. Thank you. The Ho'oponopono exercise. Remember that? You allow that to be what it is. You begin to see a greater truth that wants to emerge as you. There's this opening. You ever come out of a forest and it's like, boom, you come into this meadow. Like, wow. It's like out of the forest and the sun's shining and it's beautiful. That's what we're looking for, is that opening. With Spirit, sometimes you listen to music and the heart just expands to something wonderful that you can't even put into words, but there's an opening there. Maybe you're kissing your beloved and their time stands still or expands or something magical happens and there's an opening. That's the kind of opening that's available when we're dealing in this realm of wholeness for Spirit to enter in. And then it closes. The sun's got to set. The music stops. The glow of love fades. As much as I would like to keep that opening all the time, live in that blissful nirvanic state, I don't care about anything, it doesn't work to function in this world. We have got to bring forth what we saw on the mountaintop from that opening back into the world. And so what we tend to do as spiritual seekers is we continue to practice those things that create that opening for the ineffable to reveal its expression through us. Some will do music and their soul will be lifted. Others will read and do philosophy. Others will craft and be creative. Sundays, as I said, is my opening. It starts on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is, boom, that's that opening. It's the magic. It is the wonder. And what I've come to recognize is it is that pulse it's a pulse of love. And God is love. But when you allow yourself to do what you're passionate, His passion is love in motion that is moving through you, that allows you to be that avenue through which the wholeness and the infinite expresses in its unique way as your very life. It's not as if you are different than the wholeness. You are fulfilling that which is in your soul to do, but you are the one who's got to be willing to create the space and the opening for a greater realization of the wholeness in which you live and move and have your being. You've got to realize that you are surrounded by blessings. That'd be a good affirmation. Let's say that together. I am surrounded by blessings. Together, I am surrounded by blessings. Again, I am surrounded by blessings. Let's say, my good is chasing me down now. Together, my good is chasing me down now. Again, my good is chasing me down now. I am perfect, whole, and complete. Together, I am perfect, whole, and complete. One more time, I am perfect, whole, and complete. And that's the truth of your wholeness. God bless you. I love you. Hey, let's keep it going for Kenny Dye.
Just a tiny bit. That's good. Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
On a journey going somewhere so unknowing, and it led me straight to you. Now there's restless feelings, I guess this heart is healing, and I'm not sure what to do. It's my time to go and soar. But I find I'm wanting more. I'm a road to follow, making my own way. And I keep giving my heart away.
That is Kitty Dye.